Welcome back to another Wisco Fanatics Tuesday evening. Today we are wrapping up the 2025 Packers season. Kind of feels like it flew by the way that it went. The Packers' first season with Micah Parsons. We got year 3 of Jordan Love. Lots of high points, lots of low points. We're going to go through. Each of us have 3 plays from the season, 3 moments from the season that really affect our conclusions and our takeaways for what the 2026 offseason should hold. So we're going to go through that. That's how we're going to end our year. And with that as well, after this episode, Jake and I are going to continue on our own. This is going to be Simon and Bryant's last show with us, and we have to say we can't thank Simon and Bryant enough for them taking the time and the effort to be part of our show for the last 3 seasons. This is something that Jake and I discussed for a long time before making the decision on it, because we wanted to make sure that we were thinking it through as thoroughly as possible. But going forward, it'll be just back to Jake and I getting kind of back into the spirit of the show, the way that we started it, and that's just kind of how we're going to go forward. But we're going to do this with Simon and Bryant, and we're going to have a great show. So we're going to hit the intro, and we'll get going.
Welcome to another episode of the Wisco Fanatic Show, where we cover the Packers, Bucks, Brewers, and Badgers basketball and football teams from an optimistic and realistic perspective.
Alrighty, so 4 guys, 3 plays each, 3 moments each. We're going to have 12 plays/moments from the 2025 season. Each of us have one that includes a playoff game moment as well. So with that, those are all going to be at the end. These are all going to go chronologically through how the season went. So with that, we're going to start with week 1 and Micah Parsons' first sack.
Yeah, so I believe this was my first pick. The reason that I picked this, and we're going through plays to talk about, highs and lows, like Tyler said, and talk about some big-time moments. And Micah Parsons' first sack, he literally just looked like a lion chasing down his food. And it wasn't the peak for me, but just the what could this defense turn into? Because it was the first game. He was supposed to be on a snap count. He had a bad back coming in. That was all the reports. And, the Packers have been trying to get over the hump on defense, and they needed to make a move to go get a guy. And, this was supposed to be the Reggie White, for Jordan Love, what Brett Favre had, or the Charles Woodson that Aaron Rodgers had. And this was just a really, really fun moment, a really great moment. I remember hugging my kids afterwards, like, oh my freaking God, Micah Parsons is on this team. Like, I still remember, and this is rare for, men. It's rare for men to kind of remember feelings, like in moments. But like, I remember the feeling I had when they traded for Micah Parsons. Like, I remember how happy I was. I almost crashed my car, my new car that I got. And I almost took out like 20 other people behind me because I was so excited. I could not believe that I was reading. I was like,
Micah Parsons trade causes 20-card pile up on Wisconsin roadway.
On 441, I'm like, holy shit, dude, what is going on? Is this real, bro? And it was just, it was a magical moment, man. And I'm excited for Micah Parsons Part 2 in 2026.
I think it's even more accelerated by the fact that we've seen huge players going out in recent memory. Like we saw Aaron Rodgers traded and Devontae Adams traded out of Green Bay. So seeing a huge name traded into Green Bay, I think made it just even more like fuel to the fire.
Yeah.
All right. Jumping into the offensive line play against the Bears. Simon, what did you take away from that? You're still muted, bud.
You're still muted. No.
Or he just unplugged his microphone completely.
He wasn't going to hear nothing about that keyboard this week, buddy.
I hear you.
All right. Yeah. I don't know why it goes out like that sometimes. But it's funny you mentioned that, Jake, because I was thinking about that earlier. Like, it's funny how fast the season flew by. And, like, as soon as that dropped, I called Brian. I was like, bro, let's go.
I don't know if I had heard it yet or not. And I think I was at work when Simon called me, actually. And I think it was a longer day, or I was having a longer day that day or whatever. And I was like, I couldn't focus the rest of the day. Like, I didn't even care what we gave up. Like, did not care. Yep. So it was a good day. Yeah.
So I meant to do this as like a sandwich thing where I say something good and then we go to something bad and then say something good again, but it's fine. We'll start with a little light. This is like the point, and this was game 3 of the season. Mm-hmm. And this was like, I was like, oh man, like this was the point when like all I remember from that game was that Myles Garrett like chasing after Jordan Love, and Rasheed Walker was like, run, Jordan, run. Yeah. And that was like, and Zach Tom went down that game too. And that was just like the moment where I was like, man, our offensive line is just like not going to be as good this year as we kind of expected from like the past 7 or 8 years, ever since like Rodgers like 2011-ish season, where our leading rusher had like 360 yards or something. But that was kind of the point where I'm like, man, this team's we're gonna invest in the offensive line in some capacity in this offseason, because of where we're at with like maybe some comp pick stuff, with our free agents that we probably expect. Like, I don't expect us to pay a bunch of money for like incoming guys. Like, we're not going to get another Banks contract incoming. But I do expect us to address it in the draft in some capacity. I wouldn't be surprised if we use 2 of our, what do we got? Probably 8 picks with the comp picks from last year from Eric Wilson and Josh Myers that we're projected to get. I expect at least 2 of those to be used on offensive line, and probably a higher one that we have, like a 3rd or 4th round.
Yeah, I can't remember what we're projected to get for comp picks, but I remember after like that game, and I think we identified pretty early in the season that's like, if we don't get the job done, obviously the injuries we'll talk about later had a huge part in it, but I think that was like, if everything goes well, the one thing that like I feel like could not stop or would stop us from getting over the edge was the offensive line play, the inconsistent offensive line play.
Looking it up right now. Looks like the Packers are projected to receive 2 7th-rounders for Eric Wilson and Josh Myers.
Yep.
So they'll have, I think, like you said, 8 picks is where we're going to be. As your boy Case said, yes, sir, Packers, we're going to win the Super Bowl next year. Love that energy. Steve said Jacobs didn't get good run blocking. If he just gets moderate blocking, he can be so good. I think he's got to be healthy too, is another part of it. So I don't know what's
good. What?
Welcome to the show. Okay.
Jerome, my boy, what's going on? Okay. I had to. I'm sorry.
So that's where we're at with comp picks. Anything else you wanted to say on that, Simon, from that game?
No, that was pretty much it.
All right. Jumping into Jordan Love's 20 straight completions.
That was me, I believe, right? Yes. Yeah, so Jordan Love just absolutely going sicko mode, freaking completing 20 straight passes. I was like, holy crap. You didn't even realize it live when you're watching it, right? He's just taking what the defense is giving him. Obviously, he had the one pass to Tucker Kraft, which maybe could have been an incompletion, but Tucker Kraft is a freaking beast. And then he just runs it over 5,000 people and goes for 60 yards or whatever. He went for 48 or whatever on that play. But that was really the only one where it's kind of like a 50-50 ball. But everything else, dude, he was in total command, making the checks at the line, seeing what the defense is doing, just taking what they're giving him. And he just looked like the man. And that was the point where everybody that questioned Jordan Love being the quarterback of the future, which should have ended a long time ago. But that was the real point where it's like, maybe don't say that because you're going to look like an idiot. I mean, 20 straight completions is not by accident. I mean, I'm just going to say it. There's games where Caleb Williams makes plays and he didn't have 20 completions in the game, bro.
I bet he had less than 20 completions in a majority of the games this year.
I would have to know. That's interesting. I want to look that up now. I just thought of that just randomly. I don't know why. But just 20 straight completions is just nasty, dude. It's sick. He was in total command. He looked so comfortable. Like, if the line is better next year, which it needs to be, I don't understand why we're not firing coaches right now, but that's besides the point. Jordan Love and Josh Jacobs and all those guys, the offense is going to be just fine. It's not the offense's fault that we lost, in my opinion.
I saw something like a bold prediction that we would bring in Tyler Lindenbaum, but it's like, how do we afford him? I would love it. How do you afford him?
His market value on Spot Track is like $19.9 million.
Yeah.
I have other offensive linemen that I've been researching for for a free agency show that we'll do probably in early March. But
the thing is,
looking at Caleb Williams' game log, he completed 20 or more passes 7 times. So he had 20 passes or fewer in all but 4 of his games. He had 25 twice, 22, 21, 3 20s, and then all of the rest of them were under 20 completions.
For completions, yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
So more than half. I figured it was something like that.
That's crazy, actually.
Yeah, more than half of his games he had under 20 completions. Wow. Yep. Okay.
I'll also say this real quick about the center thing and the offense line and the running game. I will say, even with us drafting in the second round, a lot of the times centers, like even the best one in the draft, will fall into the second round. So yeah, that's something you could definitely grab in that position.
We got Corey Lindsey in the 4th or 5th round.
I was going to say, a lot of times, unless it's like what you would call a generational center prospect, a guy like Jackson Powers Johnson, even he fell into the second round. Mm-hmm. And we all were like, yo, this guy is really, really good. And he was still a second round pick. So
we all like Creed Humphrey too. I think he was a second round pick.
He was.
Yep. All righty. So my first play / takeaway is Tucker Kraft's ACL tear, and it's not a fun thing to talk about because it's such a bummer part of the season. But to me, it really highlighted the fact that the Packers need to put another tight end in the room. I think Musgrave and Wiley can stay here for 2026, but I think they need to be tight ends number 3 and 4. Max Ray said Packers Kingdom will be back. Absolutely. After the Panthers game, which is the game that Tucker Kraft got hurt in, the Packers got 28 receptions from Luke Musgrave, Fitzpatrick, and Josh Wiley, and then 1 from Drake Dabney, which came in the last game of the season. Those 28 receptions went for 258 yards and 1 touchdown, which was scored by Josh Wiley. And then 3 receptions for 22 yards and no touchdowns in the playoffs, which includes Darian Kennard, his catch for 6 yards.
Damn.
So looking at it in 10 games from the Packers tight end room as a collective, the Packers had 31 receptions for 280 yards and 1 touchdown. Tucker Kraft in 7.5 games had 32 receptions, 1 more than the rest of the tight end room in 2.5 fewer games for 480 yards. That's more than 200 more and 6 touchdowns. And he still, in 7.5 games, finished as the Packers' 3rd leading receiver.
I'd make a bet that his yak was close to the total tight end room in those 10 games.
I bet it would be more.
Yeah.
I bet it's more. Yeah, I bet his yak is probably close to the tight end room's total.
Yeah.
I will say that.
2 things. 1, Tucker Kraft's a monster. 2, we need another guy in that room.
Yeah.
And actually, if you look at the tight end free agents coming into 2026, there's actually some intriguing ones that I would be interested in, like Cade Otton from Tampa, something like that would be a good one. Or, that's a little more affordable. Actually, Dallas Goedert's going to be a free agent, stuff like that. He was a good receiving tight end. So there's going to be quite a few on the list.
There's some guys too that we liked coming out of the draft because that's what we're getting now. We've done
Isaiah Likely, but I don't think he's I don't think we'll be able to afford that. But
he's going to New York, dude. He's going to follow
Harbaugh.
Him and Theo Johnson would be a good duo.
But with that, Daniel Bellinger is a guy who could become available because the Giants probably won't hold on to him.
Tyler Higbee
is another super cheap option that would be available. I mean, there's some guys out there that I think the Packers could take a shot on.
Noah Fant, even.
Yeah, maybe. Alrighty, Simon's first one is Evan Williams getting a run stop on Thanksgiving against Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah. Do you guys know who our highest rated PFF run defender was?
I'm going to guess Evan Williams.
It was Evan Williams. And I think during Thanksgiving you really saw it. I think he made 3 or 4 really good plays at the line of scrimmage in the run game versus Detroit. And then you start looking back, and Evan Williams had 7 plays this year where he had a tackle for no gain or at the line of scrimmage. And that's pretty damn good for a guy that plays not really in the box a ton. Like you see him flying down from the secondary. I think that just kind of he was just like a really underrated part of this defense where like he's not a guy that's going to get a bunch of national highlight reel stuff, but like you can see him as like a key piece of this defense going forward. And I think he's really solidified him in himself in that spot next to Xavier McKinney this year.
Well, that's what kind of drove me a little crazy at the beginning of the year. It's like I feel like they're really trying to force Hobbs onto the field, so Bullard and Williams wasn't getting quite as many snaps. And I'm like, this why? That it goes back to sometimes I feel like they sign someone so they feel like they're just going to force them out there, and it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, Steve said the way that Evan Williams gets downhill is so special. That was a great pick by Brian Gutekunst to nail that one. So, all right, so the second of two super crucial ACL tears was unfortunately Micah Parsons, but yeah,
this was mine, and I remember. My reaction in our chat was our season's over, and hindsight's 2020, right? But I guess it wasn't technically over, but it was kind of over. I mean, we have like we had the one game where we had a few sacks against the Vikings or whatever, but pretty much before then or after that injury, we had nothing. We didn't get nothing from Rashawn Gary. Elviana had a couple nice plays. He did have the strip sack in the playoffs, so kudos to him. But I felt like, the defense died a little bit when when Micah Parsons went out, and you could just see the effectiveness, the inability of the secondary reared its ugly head because they could no longer, just cover for 2 seconds and then be like, okay, well, if they don't get out of the ball out of their hands, then Micah's going to get them anyway. Just the way he came into this team and changed our team. I mean, he still leads us in sacks by 3 sacks or whatever at the end of the year, 4 sacks at the end of the year. And he didn't play the last several games. So just that ACL, I feel like the energy probably left the locker room to a certain degree. I feel like the energy left the fan base, certainly. And and we didn't win a game after that either. So, I mean, for me, I feel like this is the football gods just kicking us in the shin over and over and over again for whatever reason. And it was unfortunate, but I love his attitude and his drive to get back, and I think he's going to come back better next year. I love the fact that he called some people out, not by name, but he basically said people need to be better conditioned to be ready to roll. I love that. So I feel like if he's going to go out and say that, I feel like he's going to be fully ready.
Yeah, and I think he's the kind of guy that's going to lead by example and stuff like that as well.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Brian's going to back-to-back kicks to the nuts.
Yeah, so I didn't know we were doing this in chronological order either, so my bad. But once again, and this doesn't even include the missed field goals, it's just another time that our special teams has completely and utterly let us down. I get it that Romeo Dobbs has good hands, but I don't think he's the best hand. And then if you go back and watch that, you've seen a couple high valued players for our team, Xavier McKinney, one of them, just standing there and watching it unfold, not even sticking their nose and jumping into the pile. And it was just like, I felt like that once again, they felt like they're just falling apart, or maybe they felt like, oh, we got this well onside cover. And it's just unfortunate. Another complete special teams blunder. And and the fact that Rich Bisaccia, I'll say this now, the fact that Rich Bisaccia has not been fired yet, I don't think it's happening. I don't think it's happening. I think he's going to be back next year. And we're just going to, this is where the one thing I said about Matt LaFleur is if he's just going to keep, I think I said it to you guys, obviously it's our first show since it happened, but I said, if Matt LaFleur is just going to keep Rich Bisaccia and no one's going to be held accountable for anything, get rid of him, because this is just, to me, what else does Rich Bisaccia need to do? And I get it. He's not on the field recovering the onside kick, but those guys need to be ready. He needs to be either going to the table and be like, Matt, we're having blunders because you're not letting us practice it. Or maybe he's saying, nope, we're ready to go. And that's not the case. So something needs to change.
It's not like that's the only issue the Packers had on special teams.
Yeah.
Like they had issues with missed kicks. They had issue with hurt kickers and then rushing a hurt kicker back and then being like
nonstop,
averaging like 11 yards per punt return, which was like last in the league by like a lot.
No, it was like 5, dude.
It was like 6 or 5 or 6.
It's that was just throwing out a random number, but I know they were last by a lot.
Oh, and then how about, Keyshawn Nixon, we're not allowing him return kicks all season long. All of a sudden, we throw him out there for the playoff game.
And Josh Jacobs.
And Josh Jacobs
asked for that.
To be fair, that worked out pretty good.
Well, he fumbled, but we got lucky.
Yeah, outside the fumble, but it was a pretty good return.
But for me, it's like, why not have Keyshawn Nixon returning kicks? Maybe he breaks one in the Browns game or the Carolina game or something that flips the game in our favor, and now all of a sudden that game against Chicago is in Green Bay. I said it when we lost to Chicago. I thought everything was still in front of us, and we completely crapped the bet against the Baltimore Ravens and the Vikings. I know we didn't really try against the Vikings, but I had a strong feeling that the Chicago Bears would not beat Detroit or San Francisco the way they were playing. And I felt like we just cashed it in. We're in the playoffs, and we could have had that game in Green Bay. Like, we need to be ready to play those games.
Yeah. So one thing that did come from that Ravens game that I thought was a positive was Lucas Van Ness's play, especially against the run. So there's a possession right after Malik Willis gets knocked out of this game. The Packers went into this game with Malik Willis starting for Jordan Love, who was in the concussion protocol. Malik Willis then gets knocked out of this game as well, and Clayton Tune comes in, and his first pass attempt goes through Bo Melton's hands and for an interception. And it's like, dude, his first pass attempt is going to be a drop that leads to a pick. And what happened after that, there was a 4-play sequence, and 3 of them were run stops by Lucas Van Ness. 3 out of 4 plays, he made run stops. Those 3 plays, the Ravens gained 7 total yards. So great job by Lucas Van Ness on those. He had 5 run stops in that game. He had 2 in the wild card game while generating 3 and 4 pressures in those 2 games. And then had a strip sack in the playoffs like Brian kind of touched on a little bit. He graded a 68.2 in run defense, which PFF grades, grain of salt. We will always say that. 60 is their average. So for him to grade 68.2, that's a pretty solid above average grade. Compared to his 44.8 run defense grade last year, that is a massive improvement. He finished with 15 run stops and 117 snaps. That puts him at a 12.8 run stop percentage, which is one of the better guys on the team. In my mind, he should be in line for a big role in 2026.
Absolutely.
All right, so now we're going to jump into playoff games, and we're each going to have a takeaway from the playoff game, starting with Christian Watson's touchdown.
Yeah, so Christian Watson, he's a guy that is so polarizing with this fan base.
Almost, by the way.
He really shouldn't be, but he really is. First of all, anybody who could survive his dad and make it to the NFL, double win for him. Double win for him. Just going to throw that out there. I really don't give a shit. I hope his dad sees this. Fuck that guy. Watson, though, he grew up a lot this year, man. That's one thing that I do give credit to LaFleur for is using him in different ways. It's not just, okay, run deep. He was running some in routes, some out routes. He's running some comebacks, double moves. He was absolutely cooking Jalen Johnson in that playoff game. Love just needed a little bit more time or to escape out to his right and let that thing fly. But Christian Watson's route running is impressive. He's an impressive athlete. And when he jumped over him, I was like, no, why'd you fumble? And then you saw how he fumbled and it barely touched the helmet. And I'm like, but him jumping over him, that was like our Jerome Simpson moment. Do you guys remember Jerome Simpson?
Yep.
The touchdown he had for the Bengals? That was like our Jerome Simpson moment. That was incredible. But he's 6'4", 6'5" doing that shit. That's insane. But he definitely needs a larger role. I'm just going to say, I love that we have the ability to spread the ball around. I love that it makes it harder for teams to game plan for us. But we have these guys who are just waiting for breakouts. And I would just like us to I want him to get 7 to 8 targets a game, guaranteed. 7 to 8 targets, just game plan that in there. That's the one problem I have with LaFleur is he doesn't game plan that stuff into the game. And that's the thing that I really wanted Mike McDaniel, but I don't know if anybody saw the report, but it sounds like he's going to be signing with the Los Angeles Chargers unless he has a change of heart, which really sucks. But I think that McDaniel would have been a guy that would have been like, okay, you need to be getting this guy at least 8 targets a game. This guy 6 targets a game. This guy 5. Now, if you fill the rest of that out, whatever. That's just the flow of the game. That's how it works, how the defense is guarding you. But Watson needs to be a guy where he's getting hyper-targeted, in my opinion. He's too damn big, too damn fast to not do that. Also, they ran a slant route with him against the Bears in the first game. which I was yelling. I felt like I was yelling on my TV every week for a slant route. Why don't we run slant routes? Why don't we run slant routes? Look at that. They run a slant route. He takes it to the house. Watson needs a bigger role. I don't know if anybody disagrees with that.
No. Nobody should disagree. And the thing that I've always said about Christian Watson is when he's healthy, he's electric.
I wish he would have made that catch. Like, I felt like it hit him in the hands. That would have been a tough catch. Yeah. But, man, we were like a foot away from winning that game.
Yeah.
But you say the same thing about Jaden Reed. So
yeah, I would say that's where we're going. We're going on to Jaden Reed's touchdown.
Yep.
This was just, first of all, it's good to have like Jaden Reed back. I think he started off kind of slow-ish out of the gate after his injury. But I thought he played pretty decent down the stretch. Nothing crazy. I think they tried to get him involved early on when he came back, and then but he just like started off slow. But this is some of the reasons why I like Matt LaFleur and I like Jordan Love a lot, is because they'll see like little mismatches like this. Like Edmonds is not gonna cover Jaden Reed in any capacity ever. So just to be able to use him on like a slant fade, like Edmonds is that's never gonna happen in the history of ever. So just it's good to have Reed back. It'll be good to have him healthy going into next season, presumably, and then it'll be good to be able to create those mismatches in the slot. And I think that's going to be a huge part of next year. I think Jaden Reed's going to play really well next year. He'll have a huge part in this offense.
I can't wait because we didn't get to see it at all. We didn't get to see Tucker Kraft, Jaden Reed, and Christian Watson on the field together.
And Matthew Golden, and presumably Matthew Golden going into his second year, and more than likely Romeo Doubs gone. I think we're going to have a really good group of pass catchers next year.
I think we're going to talk about that a little bit more tonight yet.
And Wicks, too.
Don't even know
Williams
is going to be as a wide receiver.
And Williams.
That's a total question mark. He could just – that guy could be the best freaking slot wide receiver we ever seen in our lives. We just don't even know right now. So It's exciting.
So I have the one defensive takeaway from the playoff game before we get into one last offensive play. And for me, something that jumped off the page was the two wide receiver handoffs that the Bears tried. They tried one to Luther Burden on the Bears' first drive. On their first drive, they had a 1st and 10. They tried a handoff to Luther Burden, and Kingsley Enagbare was all over it. And it was a 4-yard loss. The Bears did eventually move the chains on that set of downs, but they did ultimately settle for a field goal on that drive. Then the Bears' first possession of the third quarter, they had a 2nd and 9 at the Packers' 11-yard line in the red zone. They tried a handoff to DJ Moore, and Quay Walker blew it up for a 5-yard loss. That set up a 3rd and 14 incompletion, a field goal, and a red zone stop for the Packers defense. Now, why I bring up these two plays and what I think it means for the 2026 season is that the Packers were able to handle a lot of wrinkles. Like the Bears tried a shit ton of trick plays against the Packers in all 3 games, and the Packers didn't fall for any of them. And I feel that looking at the Packers this year and last year under Jeff Hafley, the Packers handled rushing quarterbacks pretty well for the most part also. With that, I want the Packers to be able to handle an entire run game well. I feel like that's something I haven't seen in my lifetime, is the Packers have a really good rushing defense. Like we've seen them have great pass rushers. We've seen them have electric guys in the secondary. But I feel like we haven't just had a team where like, God damn, nobody can run on the Packers like the Saints have had. Obviously, they went on a generational run of not allowing a 100-yard rusher for like 17 years, it felt like. But just to be able to defend the run as a team better and be able to blow up more of those rushing plays, just regular ones, and not only blow up the trick ones, which is great to do. But according to StatMuse, the Packers ranked 22nd in the NFL in tackles for loss in the regular season. They had 72. They ranked 11th in yards per rush attempt at 4.2. So they were decent at stopping the run, but they just couldn't ever get it behind the line of scrimmage, get teams behind the sticks, make them into the 2nd long, 3rd and long situations. Now, looking at the number 1 team, it's not a really big shocker that it was the Cleveland Browns. But the number is shocking. And the number is 117.
Jesus Christ.
So you're talking about a 45 tackle for loss difference. You're talking that's almost 3 tackles for loss per game difference between the Packers and the top team in the NFL. I'm not saying the Packers need to be number 1 in tackles for loss in a season, but there is a large gap to close, and I'd like to see the Packers close that gap and be one of the better tackle for loss teams against the run in 2026.
I mean, their defensive line is nasty too.
Their defense line is insane, and looking at free agents, I want a piece or two of it.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So the last play that we'll discuss for 2025 is going to be Matthew Golden's one and only touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, hell of a play. He showed his talents right there. He showed the explosion and then his balance after he gets hit to stay on his feet and then just to finish the play. For me, it's kind of twofold, right? For me, it shows he should have been more involved earlier in the year. He didn't just learn that and just do that in the first week of the playoffs, right? He's had that skill set. He just had been underutilized because, once again, I feel like we kind of have blind allegiance to certain players that we want to give so many snaps to and all this. But bygones be bygones. This year's over. He showed what he can do. And even aside from that, he made several big catches in that game against the Bears. I think he had a 4th down conversion, if I remember right, and some on the sidelines and some other tough plays. All right, Bobby. Anyways, so that being said, I think going forward next year, like with him, Jaden Reed, and Christian Watson, those 3, not including Tucker Kraft, but those 3, if they stay healthy, should be 80 to 90% of the wide receiver targets. Like, honestly, I get it. Dontavian Wicks is a fine piece, and maybe we can see what Savion Williams can do as a gadget guy. But honestly, at this point, I push Savion Williams in front of in front of Wicks. We know what we have in Wicks. He's a good player, but he just can't stay that consistently. And I said earlier in the season, I think we looked at if we can get a 5th or 6th round pick for Wicks, I think you take it just to replenish what you spent on him. And we're going to need the picks this year. And we have those 3 guys. It's nice to have 4, but if we start the season off and all of a sudden Golden is still 4th on the depth chart, I'm going to be frustrated because, I want to see him out there.
I feel like Wicks they could package with one of their picks to move up around. Like if there's a guy who you like and he wants to move up 10 picks in the 3rd round, and you give our 3rd Wicks and a 7th, one of the conditionals to move up. I think that's something that could be done. Yeah.
So, really, I just want to see. I feel like Golden showed what he could do. I feel like he showed his explosion. He showed he has sure hands. Honestly, I think he probably had built the best hands with between him and Christian Watson on the entire year. I think Golden had the one bad game where he had like 2 drops, and I think he's probably just kind of honestly, I think he was probably not concentrating very much because he just wasn't getting involved that much. But I'm really excited to see what he can do this next year, and all these people that want to write him off because he had a low key rookie season, go ahead and do so. You did it to other players like Jordy Nelson and Devontae Adams, so go ahead and do it to Golden, and we'll see where it goes.
Go look up Javon Walker's rookie season.
Yeah.
I brought
our Randall Cobb, our Donald Driver, and all these other people.
Not to dig too far into it, but if we got rid of Wicks, even still, I like Will Shepherd a little bit.
Yeah, I liked Will Shepherd. He was an underrated guy in college football, and he was coming into the draft that I liked.
That's a good call, Simon. I like that.
And there's a very high chance we'll take a 5th or 6th rounder wide receiver again.
Oh yeah, I'll take a flyer on a guy for sure.
Yep. Alrighty, so moving on from the season, kind of looking more into the offseason, just getting some thoughts on the Packers coaching staff from Simon and Bryant before we get to a bigger section with that. Looking at it, the Packers reportedly extending Matt LaFleur. Coaches' salaries don't have to be made public, so we're not going to know how much he's getting paid. But it's rumored to be a 5-year extension. There's also rumors that Brian Gutekunst is getting an extension. Those things I'm fine with. I think with Gutekunst, you look at some of the disciples that he's put into GM-ship around the league. I think there's like 7 guys now that are either GMs or assistant GMs in the NFL, one of them being John Eric Sullivan, who is absolutely deserving of a GM job. So we're super happy for him to get a job in Miami. Once that happened, it was like, all right, kind of writing on the wall. Jeff Hafley very well might end up being the next coach of the Miami Dolphins. Now he is.
Yep.
So with that, let's start with just LaFleur and Gutekunst, and I'll let you guys each give your thoughts, and then we'll talk about where the Packers go from defensive coordinator after that. But Simon, I'll let you go first. What are you thinking with LaFleur and Gutekunst?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with either of their extensions. I know people. I get the frustration. It seems like we're almost stuck in a way, but at the same time, like, we're in a spot where this team should be competing for a Super Bowl. Are you really going to sit there and fire your head coach and GM and start over in that aspect while we're in, like, a lot of players are in the prime of their careers right now, including, Jordan Love, and we also get Christian Watson back for another year. I just think it would be if we fired Matt LaFleur or Gutekunst, I think that would be like a failure in my opinion. I know a lot of people don't agree with that, but I like Matt LaFleur as a coach. I think though, like, if Rich Bisaccia comes back, I just don't get it. I really don't. I don't understand where he's at or why we think so highly of him. And a lot of times you'll sit here, you'll hear me say like, oh, like, players are just like, they're in a good spot to make the play. They're just not making it. And it's just, at some point you have to like kind of give up on a spot. We've been bad for special teams for so long, and we were all excited with the Bisaccia hire. It just doesn't seem like it's come to fruition. And so if I hang on to him, like, I can't really support that aspect of it. But I do like Matt LaFleur coming back. I think he's one of the better play callers in the NFL. He's really up there. I would be skirting on like top 5 with what he's able to do with the player injuries and where the offense stands year in and year out. So I have no issues with that. And Gutekunst, say what you want about like his draft picks and stuff. At the end of the day, drafting is only a singular part of being a GM. He's also brought in some low end guys that you never thought would be good. Campbell, Nixon, like guys you would never, like, street free agent guys that come in and help produce. And like that's an underrated aspect of what he is. And Micah Parsons coming in, Xavier McKinney, Josh Jacobs. Like, I know Banks wasn't like 100% this year, but he played some pretty good games this year for us. He didn't have a total failure of a season like some people think he did. And honestly, if you go look at Hobbs and his contract, they're pretty easy to move on from this year if they really wanted to, but next year for sure.
And
like, those are
Hobbs, he had a couple of spots where he was like actually not bad.
Yeah, he wasn't bad either.
And I still appreciate him for jumping in front of the microphone and not letting people give Keyshawn Nixon a bunch of shit after the one Bears game.
Yeah.
That impressed me a little bit as a leadership aspect.
So, like, say what you want about, like, Brian Gutekunst as a GM. I think he's done a hell of a job, and I think he doesn't get enough credit from our fan base just because of maybe some whiffs in the first round, which I get. But even those first round picks aren't like, they're not god awful. Like, they're not turning into all pros by any means, but they're definitely contributing to this team, and they're not playing like so bad that you just need them ripped off the team. And I mean,
one of them we might talk about bringing back, honestly.
Yeah, and going into next year, I mean, if we presumably lose Rasheed Walker, I think Jordan Morgan showed way more at tackle in his snaps than he did playing right guard. I think that was all about getting him on the field and getting him just plays in general.
I think put it this way, I think if Zach Tom's healthy at right tackle and they see how awful Rasheed Walker was playing in that game, playoff game, and they bench him and put Jordan Morgan on left tackle, we might win that game in the second half.
I fully agree with you.
When you add in the penalties, I don't disagree.
Yeah.
Fully agree.
And Gutekunst, and he just looks towards what the future could hold, and he puts he always makes it so there's never really like a rookie in a spot where we do really badly, if that makes sense.
Not like drafting starters, basically.
Yeah, that's more or less what I'm saying.
Yeah. And I think as many times as people want to be like, oh, he missed on this pick, he missed on that pick, 2 picks later was JSN, and we have LVN. And it's like, okay, sure. But we also had 4 wide receivers already on the roster that were picked the year before.
And we needed an edge rusher.
And that's the thing. Dude. And the thing that people I see say a lot is, oh, they picked Jordan Morgan over Cooper DeJean and all these guys.
Javon Bullard.
Go back and redo that draft. You know how many of the Packers picks would have been first rounders?
Yeah.
Like 4.
Yeah.
Because Edgerrin Cooper easily would have been a first rounder. Javon Bullard would have been a first rounder. Evan Williams would be a first rounder if you redid that draft. So there's at least 3 guys that would have been first rounders in that draft if you redrafted it. Yeah. That Gutekunst got in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th rounds. Mm-hmm. So, I don't have any problems with Gutekunst. And like you brought up the free agents. I mean, getting Xavier McKinney and Josh Jacobs in the same offseason, that was awesome.
Elite.
And now we talked about the trades too. Sending out Aaron Rodgers, sending out Devontae Adams. That's probably 2 of the hardest transactions that would have ever had to have been made in Packers history. Like right up there with trading Brett Favre.
Yep.
Like that's some of the hardest decisions to make in franchise history. You're talking about. And he did them pretty gracefully, I would say.
Yeah.
So, Bryant, how do you feel about Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst?
Yeah, Goody. I mean, I feel good about keeping Goody. I don't think he was going anywhere. I think he's done fine. I think he's done a good job. We can we just talked about the first round picks hasn't been ballpark or home runs. The LVN when it's like number 9 overall, you'd like to see a lot more impact, I would say. But if you go look at that draft, I bet you, without even knowing who was drafted in that draft, I bet there was someone picked before LVN in that draft that probably has not panned out. I'm not going to go back and look at it. You guys can if you want. Maybe I'm totally wrong. But I would say there's not someone that, there's probably someone that's playing on par as LVN that was drafted before him. With Matt LaFleur, I'm fine with this. He's a good coach. He's a good play caller. But for me, it's just sometimes he does not have that step on the throat, kill him mentality. And I feel like that's what's happening with Rich Bisaccia. He's like, go in there and tell the dude he's fired. Like, I don't understand how we can continue to have one aspect of our team completely fail us. It's insane to me. So, maybe they plan on moving on from him, but why wouldn't they have already? You know what I mean? And then sometimes I'll say his play calling is a little predictable or stale. And then his use of timeouts is just he's got some work to do is the problem. He's a great play caller, but he definitely has flaws. I wish he would give up play calling a little bit. If he could have given it up and got Mike McDaniel, I would have loved that. But we'll see who he hires as a DC. The one I really want is Raheem Morris. They're not bringing him in for interviews, so we'll see what happens. Sounds like they're bringing Jonathan Gannon in, who was a DC for Philly. I forgot about that part. I heard Arizona. I was like, ew. Yeah. But the fact that
I got some numbers on some of the guys that they're interviewing, so that's why I figured I'd hold off on.
Okay, yeah, I'll let you get into that. But for me, Matt LaFleur is fine, but it's just like I hope they pulled him aside and said, you need to be a little more of a hard ass, quite honestly. Like for Rich Bisaccia still to be running around the building, and for them even a couple of years ago make him like the assistant head coach or whatever they did with him. And I'm just like, I don't get it. Like, what kind of blackmail does he have on Matt LaFleur at this point? Maybe he does LaFleur's eyebrows. I don't understand why he's there still.
The only thing that I can really say for Bisaccia is that players like him. That's really the only thing I think that he has going for him. Comments, Steve, Cody, we're going to get to those. Cody said, if we don't choose our staff in the first 24 hours of the offseason, we're doomed for 2026.
True.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be done today, but I mean, the sooner you can get it done, the sooner you can start prepping for stuff like free agency and the draft. So, Jake, thoughts on LaFleur and Gutekunst? Real quick, just on Gutekunst and the 2023 draft. Players picked before Lucas Van Ness obviously would be Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud just threw 4 interceptions in half of a football game in the playoffs.
Yep.
Number 4 pick was Anthony Richardson. Paris Johnson was the number 6 pick. He has started 2 games. Tyree Wilson was the number 7 pick. Peter Skoronski's been okay, I would say.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're looking at Broderick Jones was the guy picked right after Lucas Van Ness, and the thing he's most known for is tackling Aaron Rodgers this year.
I didn't look that up, and I knew just by the way that the NFL draft goes that would be the case. I mean, we have one guy that broke his eyeball with an exercise band after he got benched. Like, I think I'll take LVN over half them people.
Yeah. So, it's and I think, like I said, I think he's going to improve still a lot. Yeah, and I think he improved a lot this year, even though he did spend a bunch of the season injured. So
I think with him on the other side of Micah Parsons, after we do, unless Gary takes a big restructure, I just think he's gone. But
do you think he's like a post-June? He has to be a post-June cut. Excuse me.
They can still cut him and save a decent amount of money.
Yeah, but it's not. It's pre-June. It's not.
Yeah, I think even if they cut him before then, they'll just designate it as a post. Yeah. And Steve said the flashes from LVN are real too, for sure.
Yeah,
Jake, thoughts on LaFleur and Gutekunst, Jake?
Yeah, real quick. They'll probably bring back Enigbare too, so I like that. He'll probably be pretty cheap. So the edge should be pretty good. They got some depth. He should be pretty cheap, you would think. He's not going to demand up.
I'm not saying someone's going to like break the bank for him, but letting him test free agency, I wouldn't be surprised if someone gave him a more lucrative offer than what Green Bay offers.
Yeah, maybe Miami. I think he might fall.
It might be a really shitty team that does it, but sure.
Yeah, maybe.
Sure.
So, first order of business, I kind of talked myself into being okay with whatever they did with LaFleur was just going to have to be what happened, right? I talk all the time about what it means to be a fan, and if the Packers, they've just been churning out GMs, as Tyler said. They've been churning out franchise quarterbacks. That's not normal for anybody who is a Packers fan. If you don't watch other teams, pretty abnormal to just end up with a bunch of freaking franchise quarterbacks in a row. Just ask the Bears. They still don't have one. I don't believe that Caleb Williams is actually a franchise quarterback. I think he's a flash in the pan. We saw that from Justin Fields. We saw it from Trubisky. It is what it is. They overrate their quarterbacks in Chicago. But the real main problem that I have is the Bisaccia thing. And it's not just Bisaccia, because Simon brought it up, and I was like, oh, yes, dude, he's going to bring up some numbers. But I brought the numbers because I wanted to see. Special teams has been a problem. I only did the last 20 years, by the way. How many times do you think they finished top 10 in special teams since 2005?
Once.
Twice.
What do you say, Brian?
What was the question? Sorry.
How many times do you think they finished top 10 in special teams rankings since 2005?
0.
One time.
Let's go.
They finished 7th in special teams. How many times do you think they finished 32nd since 2005?
4.
Take a guess.
I'll take 6.
5.
They
finished dead last 5 freaking times.
0?
They also finished 31st in 2009, 29th in 2010, 29th in 2016, 26th in 2019, 29th in 2020, 29th in 2003, 29th in 2024. They suck at special teams. Look at the freaking Seahawks, dude. They made a trade for Shaheed. The guy freaking starts the game with a bang.
He scored more points on the opening kickoff than the 49ers did in 60 minutes.
Look at the Indiana Hoosiers. Their special teams, they rush 3 people. And because they look at film, and with how those Australian punters go to the right, they understood that you can rush this way and block a punt. Absolutely game-changing play. Special teams needs to be a weapon. And then the fact that they have Bisaccia as the assistant head coach, and you hear us all the time bitching about LaFleur's 2-minute offense, late-game management with his timeouts. I'm freaking sick and tired of this, Grandpa.
Wait, where did we finish this year?
My building.
29th, I think he said.
Freaking in 2024.
No, 18. We finished 18th this year.
18th.
Hey, all right, up and up.
Okay, but in the big moments, we shit the bed.
Yeah, no. I think the only saving grace was I think our kick coverage this year was pretty good.
It was.
I think due to guys like Neiman and
you got those guys, the color in the fucking lines. Get the fuck out of my building. I'm sick and tired of this son of a bitch. It's done for. He's done. If Matt doesn't have the sack to get rid of that guy, there's a problem. There's a major problem.
Scott,
I'll fire him myself if nobody else in the room
wants. Walk in there, you're fired. Who are you?
Can't afford to lose yardage on every possession with poor returns. And honestly, the thing that really the nail in the coffin for me, like obviously the issues have been well laid out by the other three guys. The fact that almost every single time that the Packers are receiving a kick, whether it be a kickoff or a punt, that a yellow flag goes in the air. That is where I'm like, dude, that's coaching to me. Penalties to me is a coaching thing. Like, yes, there's times where guys are just, grabbing a D lineman for to avoid, letting a quarterback get smoked. But, I feel like penalties are a coaching thing.
Do you want to guess how many penalties we had on special teams this year?
All of them.
Anyone?
69.
24.
I was gonna say, okay.
24 penalties on special teams this year.
Bro,
that's over one a game.
Just like Tyler was saying, every time we would return a kick, I would literally look at my TV and be like, all right, show me the flag. All right, we got the ball back. Let's go, boys. We ride. Let's go, Jordan. Come on. I shit you not, dude. Every time. Ridiculous.
Yeah, and we'll see how Hafley does as a head coach. I mean, best of luck to him, and we can use that as a transition to the defensive coordinator position. So, Brian Flores, we'd need permission to interview him. That would be a slam dunk hire for me. I mean, I talked about the Packers being 22nd in tackle for losses. The number 2 team was Minnesota. So I would love a piece of Brian Flores in the Packers defense. Raheem Morris, Sean McDermott, who was fired by the Bills. Jim Leonard, Al Harris, names like that. I'll go into Christian Parker, Durante Jones, and Jonathan Gannon because I brought actual numbers on those 3 guys because the Packers are actually officially interviewing those 3. But Brian, I'll let you go first. What are you thinking for the Packers for DC?
Yeah, I like the 3 names that they brought in. I think. Oh my God! Why am I drawing a blank? He's on our team right now. Came from New England's DC.
Covington.
I think he'll have a chance too. We'll see if Jeff wants to pull him with him or not. Covington, if he was an understudy of Jeff, so maybe he stays and he becomes a new DC and gets a shot. We could just be doing our due diligence right now and bringing people in. But honestly, Raheem Morris would be my that's who I want. I've seen people saying, go get Brian Flores. It's like, why would he leave Minnesota
to come
do the same job with us?
He's a free agent. He's a free agent. He does not have a contract. He is unemployed by the Minnesota Vikings.
I don't. Okay. But here's my thing is we'd have to give him something more than what I don't see him. I know he's a free agent, but I don't see him leaving Minnesota for anything other than an upgrade.
Why is he a free agent for one? Why haven't they extended him?
They're trying to.
It's an upgrade having a quarterback. That's a pretty good upgrade. I'll just say that.
So, okay, well, I changed my mind. I did not know that. I don't know how I didn't know that. Go get Brian Flores.
Yeah, that too.
I get it. That
what I would say
he's being blackballed by
try to entice him. Yeah. Obviously, the Packers' long-term approach is a much better prognosis than what the Vikings are dealing with. To Jake's point, just quarterback in general.
Yep.
But what I would say is we all just spent 5 minutes talking about firing Rich Bisaccia. If you want to give him the title of associate head coach as well as defensive coordinator, in a better situation, I think that's an option. But yes, Cody Flores does want to explore options, and I do think he's very, very likely to get a head coaching job, in my opinion.
Yeah, and we'll see because who's better to put him in a position where we give him associate head coach or something while he's in the middle of suing the NFL than a team that doesn't have an NFL owner? You know what I mean? So you can't tell me that that's not having it. You can't have one of the better defenses for years, still not have that bad of a team in Miami and not get it another chance where you have people like Fisher continue to get hired finally out of the league, 8-8 was him every year. So Brian Flores, there's obviously something going on in the NFL sphere of that while he's suing the NFL essentially. But if he's going to take a DC job, we should absolutely have him on the phone and hope maybe we've had that conversation. He's like, no, that's not what I want to do, but we'll see what happens.
If he's not taking a head coaching position, the Packers should be the number one defensive coordinator position that is trying to get him.
Yeah. So I did not know that, but so thank you for that knowledge, Jake. I didn't know he was a free agent. I didn't know Minnesota would be that dumb to let that happen. That shouldn't surprise me, I guess. If Brian Flores is out the table, I'm really interested in Raheem Morris. I'm also, I think Covington, could get a shot at it too. So we'll see what happens. John Gruden is suing the NFL as well. So I don't think he'll be back in the NFL, and I think he's really enjoying what he's doing right now anyway. But, so I would like a Raheem Morris. People are saying Jim Leonard. I'm like, you're only saying that because he coached at Wisconsin.
I think people are saying it too because he's getting other defensive coordinator interviews. So it's a matter of time before he's a DC, and he's coaching a pretty damn good defensive backfield in Denver.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Okay, but if the story is true where he told Matt LaFleur no, why is Matt LaFleur going to go back to him?
I don't know. Rexter said Matt Patricia. I don't know. That guy's been.
Patricia's a pretty good coach. He's a good defensive coordinator. He's at Ohio State. I don't know why he would leave that, but
yeah, he's not leaving Ohio State for a defensive coordinator position.
I mean, he's a defensive coordinator at Ohio State right now.
Either way, he's not leaving.
Yeah, I don't think he's leaving Ohio
college
State.
Defensive coordinator position for one of the best in the nation to come coach at Green Bay. I don't think, or anywhere in the NFL in that same position. If it was a head coaching position, it would be a different story. So.
Simon, is there anything you're thinking about the defensive coordinator position for the Packers?
Yeah, so as much as I don't like retreads and stuff in the NFL when it comes to head coaches, I think it's a perfect hire to retread some of these guys back to coordinator positions. And you see some of the top NFL teams right now that have younger coaches. They also have a very experienced offense or defensive coordinator. And I think that's exactly the direction that we need to go. And so I like that they're interviewing a couple of younger, defensive backs coaches or whatever have you from the Vikings or the Eagles or the passing coordinators or whatever. But I would love a Sean McDermott or Raheem Morris as a very experienced, you take that half of the ball. I don't want to touch it. And this is your side of the ball. You have full control over it type of guys, kind of like Jeff Hafley did. So that's kind of maybe the direction I'm leaning more towards. I would love Flores if that was ever a possibility. I think now is a great time to bring him in. But a couple of the other ones would be great hires too.
Yeah, I like the idea. And Cody said the same thing. Leonard's done a very good job with the Broncos. However, I want a guy with NFL experience play calling a defensive coordinator.
Was he not calling plays at Wisconsin or
he means NFL?
What? Hafley didn't have NFL experience calling plays in the NFL before he was hired.
Oh, I get it.
I think he's meaning a guy like Raheem Morris or Sean McDermott.
What the hell has Raheem Morris done in his career besides get carried by the 2021 Rams, bro? Being dead serious.
I mean, the Falcons' defense was decent last year.
Yeah. For what they had,
helps, but their fucking division is ass. First of all, just gonna say that. What between your quarterbacks?
Even still,
I don't know. I don't like that argument, but maybe that's just me.
But I mean, they have good players on the defense, though, Jake. Their defensive line is good. They have AJ Terrell, Jesse Bates. They have good players on the defense.
Yeah, they spent a lot of money and they were still middle tier ranking. So I don't know what that says. Whatever. I'm not a big Raheem Morris guy. It is what it is.
Okay. Who are you thinking for DC?
I mean, dude, this is a no-brainer, dude. You got a free agent out there, and he's one of the best defensive minds in the NFL. It's got to be Brian Flores, dude. As soon as I found out he was a free agent, I was like, Call him now, and you throw him as much money as he needs. Oh, you want 2 Brinks trucks? Yep, we'll get you 2 of those. Yep, we'll back both of them up into your driveway. Oh, you want a private jet? Get you one of those too.
The problem is we're cheap when it comes to coaching. It's like one of the huge problems with Green Bay is that all these look at like Al Davis and stuff and all them what they can do, and they're paying 6 coaches because they have a billionaire owner. Green Bay doesn't have that, so it all comes out of their pot. So we can't afford to pay these guys huge, and that's
we have a pretty thick pot.
Okay, but that I'm serious. Like if you I don't know if you watch Justice Mosquedas and stuff, but he's been talking about this a lot. Where around the NFL circle, it's like Green Bay can't really. That's why when we fired Mike McCarthy, we made LaFleur have Pettine because it sounds like apparently Green Bay didn't want to fire Pettine and have to pay his buyout. So because coaches' salaries are 100% guaranteed, so it sounds like relatively Green Bay, from what it sounds like, is kind of cheap when it comes to wanting to pay coaches and everything. So
I think that's go ahead.
That's where we've run into some problems. So what I love if they backed up and said Matt LaFleur just got an extension, say he gets more than Ben Johnson, who got $12 million a year, say Matt LaFleur gets something like $14 million a year, which is still $6 million less than Harbaugh just got. Okay. Even if they go to, I would love if they went to Flores and said, here, take $8 to $10 million a year or whatever. I don't know that they would do that, but I would love it because I think he would be awesome defensive coordinator for us, but I just don't see them doing it.
To that point, I think that's even more of a reason to go get like a proven guy versus like a top assistant to one of the proven guys. So the guys that they are interviewing so far, the confirmed requests interviews are number 1, Christian Parker. That was the first one that came out. He's an Eagles assistant. He's the DB coach and the pass game coordinator for the Eagles. He's interviewing actually with the Cowboys as well for their defensive coordinator position. In his 2 seasons in Philadelphia, in his position, they ranked number 1 and number 5 in opponent completion percentage. They ranked number 3 and number 2 in opponent average passer rating, and number 6 and number 5 in opponent passing first downs per game. He was actually with Green Bay in 2019 as a defensive quality control coach, and then he coached defensive backs in Denver in 2020 and 2021. So he's been a part of some pretty good defenses and has a little bit of familiarity with Green Bay. I do think this would be a good hire for the Packers secondary, looking at a guy like Christian Parker. Another one the Packers interviewed or requested permission to interview is Durante Jones. He is the Vikings defensive back coach and pass game coordinator. We just spent 10 minutes talking about how we would all love Brian Flores and he would be our number 1 option. I think this is a way that they can get a piece of Brian Flores. And to me, this says that that's what they're looking at, is getting a piece of Brian Flores, that Brian Gutekunst believes that Flores is heading for a head coaching job, and that they also would want to fill their defensive coordinator position before other teams finish their head coaching searches. So even if Flores doesn't get a head coaching job, it does still seem that he's potentially likely to stay in Minnesota if they're interviewing guys under him. That's just kind of how I feel about that. Scott said, how about Lombardi's grandson? I don't know. I don't know what he's done. I haven't really looked up any statistics.
Yeah, I don't know anything about that.
I'd have to look at the Saints and see what they've done under him. And then today, actually was very shortly before the show, the Packers were announced that they're going to interview Jonathan Gannon, who was let go by the Cardinals, who does have that head coaching experience like Cody was asking for. Before he was the head coach of the Cardinals, he was the Eagles defensive coordinator for 2 years in 2021 and 2022. Looking at the Eagles defense, in 2021, in total defense, they ranked 10th. In 2022, they ranked 1st. 2021, in rushing yards per game, they ranked 11th. In 2022, they ranked 16th, so they did move back a little bit there. And for what it's worth, you guys have all mentioned DeMarcus Covington. I do expect him to help the Packers get better at run defense this season. Passing yards per game. In 2021, the Eagles were 11th. In 2022, they were 1st. Points per game. In 2021, the Eagles were 19th. In 2022, they were 7th. Red zone touchdown percentage. In 2021, Jonathan Gannon's first year as DC in Philadelphia, they were 29th. Just super bad. But in 2022, they jumped up to 17th. So a 12-team improvement in 1 year under Jonathan Gannon. In 2021, the Eagles ranked 28th in takeaways. In 2022, they ranked 7th. That is a big area where the Packers could use an improvement, is takeaways. And then the last one that I looked up was third down conversion percentage. In 2021, the Eagles allowed the 23rd highest. And then in 2022, they jumped up to 12th. So in the 2 years, there was a lot of improvements to that Eagles defense from 2021 to 2022. Obviously, some of that is personnel, but we just talked about Gutekunst too, and some of the impressive pieces that he's put on defense. There's some players that need to be replaced, I think, like some of the guys are saying as well, and some opportunities to shore up some of the holes in the defense. And obviously getting healthy would be great as well. But I think those three guys are a good starting point for where the Packers are. So Scott says, that was Scott saying, how about Lombardi's grandson? Is there anything else you guys want to say on 2025, on the coaching staff, before we switch it up a little bit?
Nope, not for where we're at right now.
All righty. So we want to end tonight's show, and we want to thank Simon and Bryant. This is something that I still remember the phone calls that I gave to Simon and Bryant when they were on a different show that was a much shittier quality, and asked them to join ours. And like I said at the open, Jake and I, we did not take the decision likely to move on our own. But we want to thank Simon and Bryant for their contributions. Like, unfortunately, we never got to a point where we could pay Simon and Bryant to be part of our show. We would have loved that, and loved having them be employees, and
Jake let me stay in his basement and save me money on a hotel
job for us. But we can't thank you guys enough for spending your time and your effort going into the seasons, into the off seasons, and into the draft prep, which we get really heavy into. Knew that was coming. Still funny. But again, we can't thank you guys enough. And you guys are still going to be around. Like, we're still going to be in communication with you guys. But I want to thank you guys for not only being part of the show, but also becoming friends as well. I mean, we've hung out in person and went to the draft together, so had some good times with you guys as well. But it's not the last time that we're ever going to talk to you guys, and you guys have been very willing and forthwith that you guys are willing to fill in if Jake and I have to miss a show, if we're sick or busy or whatever.
Hey Matthew, what's wrong with me? Can I just get some input here?
Cody said you're getting fired. Simon's getting fired because of the mustache. But I want to be as genuine as possible. I can't thank you guys enough for the time and effort you guys put in with us for the last 3 seasons.
I'm trying. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, sorry. No, I appreciate it, guys, and I've had a lot of fun. It's thank you, Matthew. It's taught me a lot of, to look into more things of football that I didn't look into. I enjoyed doing an analysis and kind of looking at stats and comparing across the league and different, teams, and seeing how we might be able to use it to our advantage and things like that. So, it's been awesome. And I still think we, we'll be around. I think it's, just not as often.
Yeah, this is not goodbye. This is definitely a see you later. I don't know if I'm just going to free ball it, I guess. Tyler and I, when we first started this, for anybody who's kind of interested in this, we were kind of thinking more of like a PTI kind of thing, like old school ESPN. Tyler and I talked about this a long time ago. Like, yes, you see me as an old man with gray in my beard and gray in my hair. That's why I usually wear a hat, because I don't need you to see all the gray that's on my hair. That's caused by my wonderful family that I love so much.
I don't have that, just for the record.
I definitely do. My family is definitely more stressful, but that was kind of the idea, is both of us bouncing ideas off each other. Now, I'm not saying that I didn't love this, because I did. This was definitely a hard decision. This is something that Tyler and I were, like you said, we were talking about for a long time, and I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Like, I really enjoy bouncing ideas off these guys. I enjoy like our game day banter, even if sometimes it frustrates me because I'm mad too and I want to throw things through my TV. I mean, it's just
my bad.
No. It's not just you. I mean, I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but like the same can be said about Mike, Mikey, who joins us for Badgers games. Like every once in a while, like Mikey's like crashing out. I'm like, I need you to hold it together, bro, because mentally I got nothing going on positive up here right now. So I need everybody around me to hold it together right now. I need you guys to be strong for me, But we're definitely gonna invite them back on, and they're gonna join us for some other stuff later. It's just for the bulk of it, it's just gonna be Tyler and I. We're gonna carry the show like it was intended to be.
Yeah, and there's definitely other changes coming. Like we're not just doing it to so Jake and I can be the only two talking heads on here. We're doing it because we're gonna add some other stuff to the show. When it comes to some production type stuff, we want to make it more of a production type thing. So that's what we're gonna be going for. Like Jake mentioned with PTI, like stuff like Around the Horn, the old school sports center. That's what kind of made us want to start this. So we want to kind of get back to that and get a little more true to the inspirations of the way we started the show and make it more of a production. So that's going to be our goal moving forward with the 2026 season. So again, thank you guys. Thank everybody for commenting. For those of you who are going to miss some of the guys more than others. But again, Simon, Bryant, thank you guys. And we appreciate you guys.
Just real quick. I've obviously had a ton of fun doing this. It's nice to, because how do I say this without being kind of like a dick? It's nice to like make friends with people that also kind of speak your language in terms of like football and stuff too. Because I don't work with a lot of people that are into sports. So Brian knows what I'm talking about. So it's cool that we can chat back and forth. I'm glad we became friends over this. It wasn't just like a, hey, come talk on our show. Like I feel like I can go to Wisconsin and we can hang out. And I plan on making my way to Green Bay games and stuff. And I'm sure I'll see you guys there. Or if they ever host the draft again, I definitely want to go again. I would 100% do that. Or, just go to a game or something. I can come hang out at your guys' place or whatever. So this has been fun. And obviously this isn't that real end. We're still going to talk, and I still want to contribute to your guys' page and the shows and stuff. And Brian and I were bouncing ideas off of each other, how we can kind of stay involved too. So this is fun. And I hope we can kind of make it on here again at some point, even if it's just like a small guest appearance or something.
Call us up to the big leagues.
Yeah, keep you guys. We're sending you guys down to AAA. For all the times that we said you guys are fired, it's official now.
Yeah,
I never said it. That was
once a week.
Next week they're going to announce that Mike Spofford's a full-time participant on the show.
yeah, that's the next announcement coming soon.
Yeah.
All righty. Thanks again, Simon, Bryant. Thanks again, everybody, for commenting on here. The next show that we're probably going to have on a Tuesday night is probably not going to be until early March when we start looking at free agency. So get a break on Tuesday nights for a while. But again, thanks everybody for commenting, and we'll see you when we start thinking about 2026. And thanks again, guys.
Exactly.
We'll be back when MLB has a salary cap.